back again with Alan Bays. Thank you so much for being a part of this little series.
Oh, it was a pleasure.
And something that I've been getting into lately is a man by the name of Darren Brown. I saw Darren. He is very, very well-known, famous hypnotist in England, in the UK. And that's how we met. Is you were watching some of my videos on my Evan Cloyd channel,
right?
And you just said, hey, you're moving out to LA, let's meet up, let's hang out.
Sure.
And you specialize in hypnosis and mentalism. So for anyone who's doing magic watching this channel that may want to kind of get into play with the idea of hypnosis and mentalism, what are just some people that they can search the internet or YouTube videos for a modern day or even old school hypnotist that they can learn from and just be like inspired from, and like maybe think to themselves, oh, I would like to do something like that, just to kind of pique their curiosity for who are some modern day people.
Sure. To learn hypnosis, the very first thing that I would tell anybody, understand what type of hypnosis you want to do, that you want to explore. Is it stage hypnosis? Is it street hypnosis to incorporate with your magic? Because those are going to send me off to different directions, and of course I'll cover all of them as far as my recommendations. The very first thing I would say is anything written by Orman McGill is, to me, is pure gold.
And that's who you recommended me, and I'm reading his book right now, Encyclopedia of Hypnosis.
Yes.
And there's been a lot of different versions of that book that have kind of been modified and updated to this date, and we go on with Mr. McGill.
Sure, anything by Orman McGill, and you can Google that to find all kinds of information and available things that are out there. To move towards performance-style hypnosis, there's all kinds of people you can research as far as learning material. Anthony Jaclyn out of the UK is a really well-known, popular hypnosis guru these days.
Yeah.
He wrote the book Reality is Plastic. Great book. Fantastic. Anybody that's even mildly interested in hypnosis, I would say to check that out. He has some DVD sets out. He has the Trilby collection, I believe it's called, and the Manchurian Approach.
And that's the DVD set that you recommended me.
Right.
And I watched that over the course of a weekend, and that like instantaneously got me to perform some successful inductions.
Absolutely, and especially for magic-related hypnosis.
Right.
The Manchurian Approach is great. It's going to show you how to incorporate hypnosis theme into your magic, making your magic even stronger. The effect on people stronger. And it gives it a purpose, and a reason. So that's something I would definitely recommend. Ronny is another guy who's really well known for his hypnosis training, but he's primarily a stage hypnosis guy. His website, Ronny's website, I believe is stagehypnosiscenter.com, and he has all kinds of learning materials, DVD collections, ebooks, just egads of material out there that you can learn from. Some of the other guys that are out there that are big in the hypnosis industry, C.J. Johnson, Michael C. Anthony, Ricky Kamen, these types of guys that are giants in the industry out there that are really, really good. My favorite hypnotist is Michael C. Anthony. Michael C. Anthony is kind of like my mentor. I've learned a lot of stuff from his material that I incorporate into my own performing style.
Awesome.
But they all have material out there that you can learn from. If you're out there, you're doing magic, you want to start learning some street or magic related performing, look up Anthony Jaclyn. You can't go wrong with him.
Anthony is definitely been teaching me the most as far as because I'm a visual learner as much. I'm sure you guys are visual learners, and as far as learning it. If you want to become interested, I'd say watch some of Darren Brown stuff. Watch the experiments. He has 4 hour-long episodes called The Experiments to see if he can hypnotize someone to admit to a murder that they didn't commit, to see if he can get someone to assassinate a well-known entertainer in a public forum. And he does 2 other experiments that are just fascinating to watch. And that's what's really sucked me in fast, was watching those. And then as far as learning was Anthony and Orman, which you suggested.
Sure. And how can I forget Darren Brown?
Right.
Darren Brown is the master. He is the man. As far as a hypnotist and mentalist, the guy is a brilliant performer. He's the type of performer I aspire to be.
Absolutely.
He's just absolutely incredible. You can't go wrong YouTube the guy, look for Darren Brown. You're just going to see some incredible stuff.
Watch his TV specials.
Absolutely.
For sure. But he doesn't really teach anything. He does a great job of blurring the lines between what is a magic trick and what is hypnosis.
Sure.
He's great at telling you he's doing something and he's really doing something else.
Absolutely. The master of redirection.
Oh, yeah.
Master of redirection. And he is, a lot of people don't know this about Darren Brown, but prior to moving into the mentalism hypnosis world, he was a quite accomplished card magician. A brilliant card guy. Just a phenomenal performer all the way around. And when I tell people, when we talk about building rapport with people, check out Darren. Look at his stage shows. He is a master of building rapport from the very beginning.
Instantaneously. Before people even get into the building now, he's established himself like that well. And that's just some incredible stuff. And I'm starting to think, why don't more people combine hypnosis and mentalism with magic? It's just like you're either one or you're the other. It feels like, why is there that line?
There is a, it depends on who you're talking to, but of course there is a delineation out there with the mass populace of performers of, if I'm doing mentalism, I can't do a card trick.
Right.
And I personally, we all have our own takes on that. I think that for me, that's wrong.
Me too.
For me, why not be able to present a really cool magical effect and then move on to some very powerful mentalism or hypnosis? As we were talking earlier, I'm always running a silent script, an internal silent script. And in my mind, when I'm doing these performances, if I'm moving over here doing ambitious card, I've literally moved in from ambitious card routine into a very strong Q&A session in the mentalism. And making that transition, most people would say, well, how can you do that? If you're doing the mentalism, they're just automatically going to revert back and think you're doing a trick because you did a card trick first.
Right.
I think that's hogwash. I've never ever had anybody make that claim. In fact, I've had the opposite. I've had audiences tell me, well, you're doing the card trick and that's a really cool sleight of hand and that was great, but this other stuff you did, that's real,
Right.
There's no way that could have been fake, that was just incredible. You're reading my mind. And if you're a competent performer and you're comfortable with yourself, I don't like rules. I don't like to box myself into a corner. I'm going to perform what I want to perform, and whether that's a card trick moving into mentalism or hypnosis, I've usually done that pretty successfully. I don't see any reason for, you have some purists out there that feel that you can't combine the two, but some of the greatest in history have not had these rules. Some of the greatest mentalists that have ever been out there, Theodore Anneman, Tony Corenda, these are all guys that have written 13 Steps to Mentalism, Practical Mental Effects. These are the Bibles of mentalism performance. They've always combined the two, seamlessly, without problem. And these guys are the masters, and I tend to listen to the masters. The people that have been successful, that have been very successful, are the people who break the rules. Mm-hmm. David Blaine is probably our most modern day example of that. This is a guy that came on the scene doing, he didn't have patter. He didn't have, the typical jokes and the typical routines that everybody else did. And this guy was mixing everything together. Card tricks, 2-card Monty, going into a mind reading experiment and hardcore mentalism, all these things he was doing.
Manipulation with his bones.
Absolutely. He was doing everything. He broke the rules. He was doing everything that a lot of purists would tell you not to do, but do what's right for you. And don't follow anybody else's rules. Don't let somebody else tell you who you should be as a performer or what you should be doing.
Right.
It's always good to listen to advice from people that you look up to and aspire to, but make your own way. Find out who you are as a performer and become that.
Right. Something that always stuck out to me was as far as motivational was the saying that if your why is big enough, then the what is easy. Why do you want to learn magic? Is it to be more successful with people? Is it to get famous? Why was your why? This happened more for me is why do I want to lose weight and get skinny? And my why was such a strong reason that it's just well, what do I have to do? All right, I gotta work out, I gotta eat healthy. A lot of people say, oh, what do I have to do to learn good magic? No. Start thinking, why do I want to learn good magic?
Right.
And if you're reasoning why you want to learn it, then what you have to do is going to be so easy. It's not even funny. It's just like, I have to go buy this effect. I have to learn this style. I have to do research on this.
Sure.
So think about what your why is. Like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you at this channel trying to learn what you guys are learning? And then just the what will be that much easier. And that goes for learning who you are as a performer. So we talked about hypnosis for a little bit. What about mentalism? Who are some of the good mentalists out there? And what's the difference between mentalism and like magic, and tying the two in together necessarily, or just keeping them separated?
Sure. And that's different for everybody. But as far as going back to mentalists, of course, there's Darren Brown. But the guys that I really look up to personally in the mentalism world, Richard Sterlen, I think, is probably the number one guy. Him as a performer was, I think, the first guy that really made me want to jump into mentalism myself. He was the genesis. There are lots of really good mentalists out there. I mean, Max Maven, Richard Sterlen. Mentalism for me, like we talked about earlier, is it's just so strong that the magic is happening in the minds of the person that you're doing it for.
Right.
And there's an old saying that goes back to mentalism. It's the only real form of magic left that leaves that plausibility that what they've just seen could possibly be real. And I don't think it's our job, or my job as a mentalist, to convince anybody of anything. That's not our job. Our job is to present a question for somebody. It's allow them to have the experience. It's like going to a good movie that doesn't quite explain everything that's going on. You get to draw your own conclusions at the end of that movie. It gives you something to talk about, something to think about. And to me, it is the strongest form of magic. And when you're dealing with somebody's thoughts, their personal thoughts, what's stronger than that?
Right.
Anybody that's wanting to get into mentalism, the very first thing I would tell anybody, which is the same advice that I received, start with the basics. Start with the foundations. Pick up 13 Steps to Mentalism from Tony Corinda. Pick up Practical Mental Effects from Theodore Anneman. Those books alone have enough material in it to last you a lifetime.
Dang.
And you're going to learn the staples and where mentalism comes from, in the way that it was old school, which still applies to this day. You can update performance to make it a little bit more modern, but the principles that are in those books apply 100% to today's time. Go through them. Go from the first page to the end. Don't skip around. The 13 Steps to Mentalism, the best advice I got was follow the steps. Do step 1, 2, 3. Don't jump around. It's going to confuse you. It's going to mess you up. 13 Steps to Mentalism is a course in mentalism without really appearing that way.
Interesting.
Really, really powerful stuff in there. If you're like me, I believe you are, I also like to learn visually.
Right.
Anything by Richard Sterlen is going to get you on your way. Pick up his Mind Mysteries DVD sets, his Easy to Master Mental Miracles. He has a lot of stuff that's just incredible, that's going to get you out there and just really learn the concept of mentalism. Good, powerful mentalism. Bob Cassidy, his Mental Miracles DVD, I believe it's called.
Okay, cool.
Fantastic stuff.
And some of that, what you were saying, just like, why do I want to incorporate magic with mentalism, or hypnosis with magic, or like combination of the three? It all comes back down to, well, you might learn, like you did over the course of time, that you may like hypnosis more than magic. You may enjoy mentalism more than magic. And the fact of the matter is, from what you've told me, is mentalists and hypnotists make significantly more money than magicians make. Significantly more. And what are the some benefits, or like why you would want to try to like incorporate? Is that sound about right up the alley?
Absolutely. Absolutely. As a mentalist or hypnotist, one of the benefits of when I travel and I do shows is I carry a small briefcase. Whereas a lot of performing and traveling magicians have to carry their trunks and their big equipment and their illusions,
Right.
And the reality is the mentalism and hypnosis shows demands a higher price range for what you're doing. You're held in a little bit more prestige. which is not to knock the magic. You can do very well doing
there's
magic.
a lot more room for error, in mentalism.
Absolutely. You know, because the beauty of mentalism is you don't always have to be right. In fact, it's sometimes better if you're not. Sometimes it's better if you're just close.
Right.
Makes it far more believable. It's a theory of, I believe it's my friend Greg Garcia created the theory of, by the way, mentalism. Look up Greg Garcia. He's got some incredible mentalism things out there. He has this theory called the 6 degrees of separation. You know, and you guys will have to look that up and find out what that means. But it's always keeping your distance. It's never, you know, if somebody's thinking of a clock, you know, or a window, or eyeglasses, you don't want to go to you're thinking of eyeglasses. You're thinking, I'm seeing glass, I'm seeing like panes, windows, or something that you're looking through. You know, you're getting close, but you're never right nailing it right on top of the head.
Right.
It's going to add to your credibility as far as what you're doing, as far as coming off as real. One of the benefits I found, because remember, I started doing magic. And when I started adding mentalism and hypnosis into my magic performance, I noticed a much more significant impact on the spectator. Now, there's nothing wrong with, look, your card's here and now it's gone to an impossible location, whether it be in this little box or into my wallet. That's very magical and that's great. But personally, and again, this is just me, but I have found that when I have somebody, you know, you transcend from a typical pick a card trick to, I just want you to think, you know, take a card and think about it. And now I'm going to pluck that thought out of your mind. That's incredibly powerful.
Right.
It's incredibly powerful.
It's the whole, I'm sorry to interrupt, I wanted to say this earlier. It was the idea of pick a card, any card, versus take a card, one that calls out to you. Just that little difference. Like, I've eliminated the phrase pick a card, any card, and just that add some more mystery to yourself. But that's a little off topic from what you were saying, but I just wanted to throw that out there as a little tip for you guys doing your magic.
Absolutely. You know, there's another thing that, going on the same topic, that I do with cards sometimes, and sometimes I'll take a deck of cards, and when I'm getting ready and say, in just a moment, you're going to take a card out of this deck, but it's going to be a card that just simply cannot be there. And that's going to make sense to you in a few minutes. But it has something to do with your future, and it just simply can't be there. Now, of course, I'm going to have a pick a card. It's going to end up in an impossible location. How could it have been there if it was in this box from the very beginning? But what I have done is I've made it personal to them.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I've built the mystery. I've built the what is this about. And
I'm intrigued.
It kind of gives you that moment of, ooh, what's about to happen? You know, and it builds, it's built-in suspense. Like any good movie. That's
great for the ambitious card. There's a closer for the ambitious card, whether it ends up in your shoe or in, like, folded up in paper clipped. If you have the paper clip card out, the whole time it's just like the card that you're about to pick is going to be in an impossible spot.
That's right.
And it was in plain view the whole time.
From the beginning.
Card. Then, yeah, that's a lot more interesting than, it's a lot more captivating than just take a card.
Sure. You hit them sometimes with, you know, I'll go on a different span. You know, there's one card in this deck that you're going to pick. And you're going to pick it because it's inevitable.
Yeah.
Okay, and when you're playing, you can disguise this same effect, this same trick. I'm just going to have you take a card out of the deck. But there's so many different masks you can put on it.
Oh, yeah.
So many different presentations you can do for it. And then sometimes I'll have like an ambitious card routine. I have 5 or 6 different ways I present that trick. And sometimes it's just keeping it fresh in my own mind to give me something new and different to do each time I do it so I don't get bored with it.
Right.
You know, myself. But you package it and you frame it the way. It's all about framing.
Yeah. You go to Taco Bell and you get a taco or a burrito and it's in this shitty wrapping that's all messed up and it looks like it's cut in half down the middle. You're not going to want to eat that taco even if it's the best tasting burrito you ever want.
For sure.
And with that said, a little off on a tangent. I hope I think we got into mentalism, hypnosis. Check out Anthony Quinn, Orman McGill, Darren Brown. Watch Darren Brown stuff on YouTube. Incredible, powerful stuff. As well as the Mentalist, that I'll have links in the description for some of these guys, as well as Darren Brown's The Experiments that you guys have to check out. I promise you'll not regret it. And thank you again so much.
My pleasure.
What is the website that they can check you guys out at?
You can check me out at allenbays.com. That's ALLENBAYS.
We're going to be working together in the future, and we have another one coming out in a few weeks or so with Alan. And it's going to be about how to make money in magic and money in hypnosis and mentalism, stuff like that. Until then, be inspired to learn, inspired to disturb, and always rise above.